Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another video discussion where, in this case, we're going to be talking about 2021. Yes, 2020 is slowly fixing to be over with, but 2021, what can we expect? Well, hopefully have a lot of excitement. You have the fact that technically this is the year that we start a new generation in regards to the PlayStation system and the Xbox system, what with the PS5 and Series X. So, needless to say, there's a lot of hype going on with potential games that are going to be coming out for those two particular consoles. But until then, there are other consoles that have been previously released, such as the Switch, PS4, and the Xbox One system, in which case where, obviously we'll still be waiting for games that are going to be coming out for those particular consoles. So with that being said, I wanted to go ahead and take a brief look at all of the games that I'm going to be excited for in 2021. Now, the thing is this to take note of, is that the majority of these things, while they do say 2021, they aren't specifically stated as an actual date, much less a month. In fact, what with COVID-19 and everything like that still going on, it could potentially push back some of these titles. But for the moment, until they get confirmed otherwise, these particular titles are slowly fixing to come out. So let's talk about what they're coming out for 2021. The first one I wanted to go ahead and talk about is a game known as Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139. I don't know what that number means. I honestly don't. But what I do know is this, is that technically this is either a remaster or a remake of Nier that came out back on the PlayStation 3. Now, the thing is this, is that technically speaking, in America we had Nier, which features the father character. In Japan, however, they had a version called Nier Replicant, which basically is a same game, but with a different main character protagonist, being that of a younger man. Obviously, the older brother is what I'm presuming. And so with that being said, that game is going to be coming out in April of 2021, according to what is stated on its official website by Square Enix. Whether or not it's going to stay that way, who's to say, but what I do know for a fact is this, is that this is definitely the version that I'm looking forward to playing, because I played Nier and I love Nier. Not so much Automata for those of you that are still asking the question, but Nier I definitely enjoyed. And Replicant, I wanted to actually get into that, but since how it was only ever available in Japan, I couldn't really experience it. So the only thing I knew for a fact was the fact that it's the same game, just with a different protagonist. Pray for the Gods. Now, this is technically a indie development title that had been talked about for years, and technically several people, YouTubers of course, had gotten a small glimpse of what Pray to the Gods is like. And the best thing that I know from looking at it for myself is the fact that it's sort of a Shadow of the Colossus predecessor, or a successor if you will. But in looking at trailers, it seems like it's going to be a lot more in-depth than a Shadow of the Colossus clone. Yes, you are facing off giant colossi creatures, but there's a lot more going on in the background, so it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out, especially considering the fact that this has been in development for quite some time. People played the demo of it and everything like that, the beta and stuff, and from what it sounds like there's a lot more improvements that was made since it was originally first announced a couple of years ago. And now, recently, after looking into it, apparently it's coming out for PS4, so in the first quarter, that is. Whether or not that's going to stay that way, I'm not sure, but that one's definitely going to be looking forward to. Kena Bridge of Spirits. Technically, this is a PS5 game, but it's also going to be released for PS4. So, in other words, if I wanted to play it on the PlayStation 4, I can easily pick up a PS4 version of it, and then whenever I go into the PlayStation 5, it will have the upgrade version of the PS5, and yeah, that's cool for me. I like how it looks, I like how interesting it is, but not only that, because of how the little fuzzy looking things, I'm not sure what they're called, but they kind of remind me of Pikmin, because these little guys team up together to move objects, to hold enemy back and stuff like that. So it looks interesting to me. It definitely fascinates me. So one thing's for certain, whenever that finally comes out, it's going to be interesting to see how much of a Pikmin game it's going to feel like versus how much different it's going to be. All I know is the fact that the main character, she has a staff, she can transform into a bow, she summons up these little shadow fuzzy looking creature things, they're adorable, and yeah, I'm interested to play it. Neo, The World Ends With You. After a decade of the original game that came out for the DS, it's finally getting a sequel, and I have to say, for those that don't know, on my Let's Play channel, my BlackCross Favorite Games, I had played through The World Ends With You Final Remix, and technically, in the Final Remix portion, there's a new part called A New Day, and the endings of that one, without giving too much spoilers, connects to Neo, The World Ends With You sequel, so it definitely ties in, and it makes a lot more sense as to what was going on in the trailer, because, like, there was some things I was making sense, and there were some things that I wasn't making sense of, but after playing through the Final Remix portion of that, I now see how it ties up to it, and now I'm more excited about trying out Neo, The World Ends With You. And gameplay-wise, oh, this is going to be interesting. Okay, so a reminder, technically The World Ends With You is sort of a side-scrolling game, if you will. It's a 2D field, you're kind of moving Netku and everything like that, you're using psych powers and stuff. This is going to be redoing that same formula, but completely different. It's now a 3D field, and in terms of how the combat's probably going to be, as well as how everything else is supposed to look and feel, it's going to be a drastic change, that's for sure. So that was going to be one of the biggest hype games to play for next year. As far as I know, it's stated for summer of next year. Whether or not it's going to stay that way, I don't know, but who's to say if it's going to be a June, July, or even an August release? I think it's probably going to be more of an August, but if for some reason it somehow ends up being a May or June release, that's going to be a fun game to try out. Now, this is kind of cheating a little bit. This is kind of cheating, because technically it's available now digitally. However, though, it's going to be out physically in February. And the only reason why I'm holding back is because, well, obviously I want the physical version before I get the digital version. And the game itself is not a big deal. And I say it's not a big deal because this is basically a Souls-like game, but with a different twist. And what I mean by different twist is more a cyberpunk horror, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain it without actually showing the trailer, which I'm showing image of it and stuff like that. And it's definitely up there in terms of uniquely different Souls-like games. And I actually kind of like how it looks. It looks interesting. It kind of has like that Bloodborne feel look to it, except obviously cyber feel and everything. So I'm looking forward to it. As to how much more different and how much more unique it's going to be, I don't know. I just know from looking at the different bosses and stuff, it definitely lures me in and wants me to try this game out. For some reason, I've been doing that a lot lately, where I see a game that has that look and feel of a Souls-like clone, yet it has enough uniqueness that makes me want to reach out there and try it out. In the past, there's been games that have this Soul-like look, but never really pull me in, whereas like Mortal Shells, and then most recently, Chronos Before the Ashes, it actually looks interesting and has an interesting ideal about itself, has a unique feel about itself, and it's like, yeah, let's dive into it and see what it's like. So, Hellpoint, if you want to check it out yourself, it's already available now digitally, but if you want it physically, won't come out until February of next year. Hogwarts Legacy. Now, this has no release date, technically, even though it is stated, when you look at it, a potential release for 2021. I don't think it will be released in 2021. I think it's going to be more of a 2022 release, but this is also technically stated for a PS4 release as well. Some are saying it's going to be exclusive to PS5, but this is probably going to be a multi-release platform regardless. So, Hogwarts Legacy. I have a little confession to make. I am not a big fan of the Harry Potter series. Now, not to say that I hate them. It's not that I hate them. I don't actually. In fact, my personal favorite would be 1 through 4 probably. But then after that, they kind of go down in terms of like quality. Now, I'm not saying they're bad films. No. It's just the pacing of the story followed by the layout of the story and stuff kind of dwindles down a bit. Hogwarts Legacy definitely looks interesting. I hope that it's sort of like a customize your own character, You get to explore Hogwarts, you get to learn spells and stuff. You know, a free to roam around of Hogwarts. You know, that would be the dream thing for a Harry Potter fan, I imagine. I don't think that's what this is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is a video game based around Tom Riddle's background. You know, Tom Riddle being that of Voldemort. So if that ends up being the case, that's still going to be interesting to dive into regardless. But I hope it's a case of where, even if Tom Riddle is the main antagonist or something like that, you do get to create your own character and kind of form your own spells and stuff. I would like to see that. If that ends up being the case, that would be awesome. But aside from that, I hadn't really looked any further beyond the reveal trailer that they had. Horizon Forbidden West. I have not played Zero Dawn yet, but I am intrigued about Forbidden West. This definitely looks interesting. Technically, it's going to be available for both PS4 and PS5, according to what is stated, for next year. And I'm probably going to get the PS4 version, obviously, but it also depends on when exactly it comes out. It has no official release date, although it sounds like it's going to be coming out within the first or second quarter of next year, from what people are saying. But it looks interesting. Hopefully I'll play through Zero Dawn before the game actually comes out, but until then, still going to be hyped for it. No More Heroes 3, after who knows how long, it got pushed back for 2021 without an actual official date. Yes, even though it's been pushed back for 2021, they have not actually stated as to when in 2021. If nothing else, it could be late 2021. I'm not going to hold my breath on it, but I still have the second one that I still need to try out and play for myself. I've never played the second one because it was only ever released for the Wii. And now, since we've had the Switch versions of No More Heroes 1 and 2 released recently, I can finally play through the second one and see what that's like and stuff. I've heard a lot of people have some good things about the second one, despite the fact that it was only ever released for the Wii. And like I said, I hate motion controls, but I'm hoping that because of the Switch, you can play it with a normal controller. I'm hoping that's the case, and if so, it's definitely going to be fun to try out. But until then, No More Heroes 3 is definitely going to be a hyped game for me to look forward to. I love how it looks. I love the story idea they're going with, where they're going with aliens that is posing as superheroes. It has that little trope, but I love the trope, and I love Travis touchdowns. Oh, it's going to be a good time. I cannot wait for that game to come out, but I am patient enough to wait until then. And I'm going to tell you right now, Pseudo51 himself, Pseudo himself, he is a major teaser. Anytime you see him, you know, he's been kind of teasing the game out as it is, and not only that, but there was one time that, you know, you saw him, and in the background you see No More Heroes 3, where Travis is, what looks like he's fighting a boss, but he's there blocking the image, sort of, in a way, and it's like, as he's talking about stuff and everything like that, the main game is behind him. He is literally teasing us. It's like, so, yeah, No More Heroes 3. I'm just going to hold it right here for the time being right now, and I'm just going to tell you everything else that's been going on here in the studios, and you're going to be more or less interested in what's going on behind the background. It's just, he's teasing us so badly, but that's okay, because he's probably excited for the game, and if that's the case, that makes me excited for the game, and chances are, depending on who you are, makes you excited for the game, right? You know, and that's okay, you know. We want to be able to feel like as though if we have something to look forward to for 2021, especially since 2020 has been such a shit show for us, is something to look forward to, really. So hopefully No More Hero 3 will come out in 2021. If it comes out somewhere in the range of second or third quarter of next year, I'd be happy, but something tells me I don't think that's going to happen. It's probably going to happen in the fourth quarter, but we'll see what happens. Probably not as hyped for this one as most people would be, but still, regardless, I'm going to put it down anyway, because I definitely love the first one, and that is Psychonauts 2. It's been years since we've seen any presence of Psychonauts, and since Psychonauts 2 had been confirmed, they also did a VR game of Psychonauts. Hadn't heard anyone talk about that beyond the fact that it was a thing, so don't know about that, but with that being said, Psychonauts 2 is going to be coming out supposedly next year. So, again, who's to say if that's going to be true or not, but for the time being right now, that is definitely a game that I'm looking forward to when it finally does. Probably not going to pick it up on day one, but I definitely am going to pick it up at some point or another. So, this one, however, unlike Psychonauts 2, I am probably a little bit more hyped up for this one because I love how unique it looks. I love how it looks. So, Fist, forged in Shadow Torch. That's going to be an interesting name to go for. Fist forged in Shadow Torch. This one is looking pretty interesting. You have this rabbit that has like a robotic arm attached to his back, and he's using that arm to fight bad guys in this 3D side-scrolling game. What's interesting, though, is two things. One, anthropomorphic creatures. Much like how the animation scenes has been and stuff like that, seeing animals being portrayed in animation and stuff is unique because then you get to see how they react in terms of being a human promorphic, anthropomorphic, however way you want to phrase it, type thing in the realm of realism and stuff. And so, to see this game, it definitely looks interesting, looks promising to me, and the gameplay looks absolutely fun. Looks bonkers, really, when you think about it all. I want to see what it's like, because that actually does look good. It looks fun, and I think that's the biggest part, just it looks fun. Shin Megami Tensei 5, which surprisingly is a Switch exclusive only. I did not know that. You know, it got announced, or it got revealed alongside with Shin Megami Tensei 3 HD Remastered this year, so I figured it was going to be a PS4 release as well, but no, it looks like it's still going to be a Switch exclusive. I did not know that, but either way, I'm still going to pick it up regardless, because the fifth one, while I hadn't played the fourth one because it was only available as a DS title, definitely looking forward to the fifth one. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a good one. And you know what? It's going to be fun to hop into Shin Megami Tensei again, finally, and everything. I mean, it's funny because the year before this year was the year of Final Fantasy. This year had been more or less the year of Dragon Quest, what with me playing through 11, 8, and now going back into 11 for the PS4 version. And now next year is going to be the year of Shin Megami Tensei, what with the fifth one, as well as the third one HD Remastered, so that's going to be fun. And speaking of the third HD Remaster, that one is another game that I'm looking forward to. When it comes out in spring, according to what is stated for the US release, it's already released in Japan, technically, back in October, but here in America, we're going to get it in spring. And the cool thing is this, is that technically, not only will we get to experience the Japanese version of the game, what with the Devil Summoner main character, but also, too, there's a DLC going to be released to where you can actually experience it with the Devil May Cry Dante, which we got in America. So that's going to be cool to have. You know, you're going to be able to choose between the two versions. I kind of wish that was something like that for Kingdom Hearts 1's case, because while the Final Mix version is cool and all that stuff, and I'm glad I got it, I wouldn't mind going back and playing through the original first one for the PS2 because of how the color skins looked it in the original version. Keep in mind, the majority of the Heartless that's been reskinned in the Final Mix version are completely different than what they look like in the original version. So, it'd be awesome to see that in some point in time, but until then, you know, Shin Megami Tensei is going to do that. So, to have the two different versions, going to be fun to experience. So there was a game that I forgot about, and that was Dragon Quest The Adventure Dia Infinite Slash, or Shrine, whatever the phrase is, but the thing is, I forgot about this game. Technically, it was revealed in the middle of this year, and I completely forgot that this was being developed, but also that it's also going to be released in 2021 as well. And again, back in that video statement that I made, it kind of reminded me of that of like Kingdom Hearts, sort of. So it's like Dragon Quest and Kingdom Hearts gameplay, so it's definitely got my interest in some form of way. I can't wait to actually take a look at it further and see how far it looks, but for the time being right now, the only thing I know is that this game is also going to be released in 2021 as well. Technically, they've never stated this. They've never stated that it's going to have a release date yet for a 2021. However, they did say in terms of development, they do want to release it whenever they, as soon as they are able to, but they're not going to rush it. They're not going to push it out there as fast. They're going to make certain that the game is going to be as developed and well polished as possible. And that is Wukong Black Legend. So I talked about this earlier this year. Actually, it was in the middle of this year. It was much like how Biomutant was revealed to me. I didn't know anything about it except for like someone posting it on Twitter and stuff. And I saw the gameplay and I was like, oh my gosh, and I had to check it out, and it's definitely one of those games that I'm looking forward to trying out whenever it finally gets released. And the gameplay looks fun. I love the atmosphere. I love how it all looks and how it flows. The gameplay, the abilities, Wukong himself. Just, oh, it looks so fun. Oh, it looks so fun. I cannot wait to dive into it. But I don't think it's going to be a 2021 release. I see it as a little bit later on. But if for some reason it does get released in 2021, yep, I'm going to put it down on my list. And then finally, unfortunately, this is a game that while I am equally, if not on the highest priority of ultra hypeness, I don't know if it's going to be released in 2021. In fact, the development team has talked about this multiple times, and they have stated it. We will release it when we feel like it is ready. And, you know, that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought to know that we don't even know if it's going to be a 2021. And that is, of course, Biomutant. Biomutant has been in development for so long. Still excited for the game. Love how it looks. Just, oh my gosh, I am still excited for that. So, hopefully, finally, we will see details of the game going to be releasing in 2021. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. I know that they originally talked about it back in, like, July or August. But they have stated that technically, in terms of development, they were on the final stages of testing the game and stuff. They were doing some fine reworking and stuff like that in terms of the test project and stuff. And by the time it finally gets done with its testing phase, they will finally kick it into the final stages, which is that of course, mass production. Which obviously would mean that it's in gold, meaning that it will be ready to be released in some time. And by the time they finally get done testing and it's actually going to be in production, that means that they will obviously put a release date as to when it's going to come out. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've had that baby pre-order for 3 years. Yep. It's the one game that I've had pre-order for 3 years, been waiting for it, and it's slowly fixing to come out. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. Oh, it's so scary, but at the same time, it is so exciting to finally get into it whenever it finally does come out. But it's not confirmed yet, but hopefully it will at some point in time. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. What are you excited for 2021? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other games that you're going to be excited for, more so than what I would be. In fact, in terms of what I have right now, this is just stuff that is technically somewhat stated to be released for next year. For all we know, anywhere between now until June or July, there could be more games that could be revealed within that first half of the year, for the second half. And who knows what else they'll reveal, you know? There's no telling, really. But one thing for certain, though, I'm looking forward to it. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.